And welcome back to the Filmreelcast. I'm Stuart, your host. This week I'm doing a very short review of a film that I was recommended by a so-called friend. Before we get into the film and what it is, let's first look at the definition of friend. And the reason why I want to look at this is so April understands what a true friend should do. Now, bearing in mind that definition which we've just seen, I'm going to talk about a film which is taking Netflix by storm. It's 2020 365 Days, which is a Polish film which is taking Netflix currently by storm. And as we go through this, we'll talk about why that is and what side of the fence do you sit on with the controversial kind of nature of the subject to this film, of actually what it's all about. This was a very difficult film to watch for so many reasons. So much so I took a selfie of myself whilst I was watching it, and I found that I was wearing a pair of these. Now, before we get into this review, just to warn you, there's going to be foul language, there's going to be frustration, there's going to be mild annoyance. And that's just talking about what this story is about and the acting. So 365 Days is based on a book by Liplinska Blanka. And it's very much from the genre of 50 Shades of Grey, which is like a soft porn housewife's dream to read, where it's a fantasy of being tied up, dominated by the male form, and the female is very much a victim in this. And this film follows suit, especially with the storyline, which is absolutely mental. It's ridiculous how someone could write this and think that it's a sustainable storyline in this current day, especially with the Me Too survivors march so much in the headlines. So we'll go into the storyline very briefly, and then we'll talk about why I've got problems with this, what works, if anything works, and then if I recommend this. Just a warning, as usual, this will contain spoilers. We will be talking about the whole story, the ending. So if you've not seen this, I don't really want to say go to Netflix and watch it, because I wouldn't encourage anyone to watch it. But if you're fascinated, go and watch it, then come back and see this review. So this is about a guy called Massimo who works for the Mafia. And at the start of this, his father gets shot. And before his father gets shot, he's looking at this female on the beach who he's fantasizing about. A very attractive, unknown female. She's very mysterious, but you can tell at that moment that he's really into her. His father gets assassinated, and the bullet goes through his dad and into Massimo. And whilst he's dying, all he can think about is his female. Flip to the female called Laura. She's the female star of this. She's got a boyfriend. He's a real douchebag. He doesn't do anything for her. He takes her for granted. So much so, first time you really see her is that she's pleasuring herself in a bedroom. And a chance meeting on a holiday runs Massimo into Laura. Unknowing to her, she's the woman of Massimo's dreams. So rather than chat her up, rather than try and entertain her and charm her like most people do, getting to know someone, he decides, I'm going to kidnap you against your will, hold you for 365 days, and you will fall in love with me. If you don't fall in love with me, I'll let you go. But during that time, I want to have sex with you, I want to touch you, but I'll only do it with your permission. And that's the rules. And it's during that time, will she, won't she, fall in love with her kidnapper? Will it be Stockholm Syndrome, where she does fall in love with him, but she doesn't really know who he is? Or does she know who he is, embrace everything, and take it all for a ride, and enjoy the money and the wealth that he's clearly got and the power? Now, the problem I've got with this is that obviously she's kidnapped against her will. She doesn't know this person whatsoever, and she's taken away from her normal life. And the fact that within a couple of days, and it seems like a couple of days, there is no time periods in this film, so you don't know how long, but it moves pretty quick. Within a couple of days, even in a couple of weeks, she's having sex with him. And that it's kind of post-permission sex. So he'll have sex with her, and then he'll kind of dominate her and tell her that she liked it. There's a really horrific scene on an aeroplane where he's got the flight attendant, and against her will, that he just makes her perform oral sex on him. And again, it's post-permission, and she doesn't look like she's enjoying it. And you kind of go on the borders of this guy with the power he's got. He's the head of a mafia family. He's just going along, treating women just like bits of meat, and sexually assaulting and raping them at his will, and telling them that they enjoyed it. It's quite uncomfortable viewing. Not only that is it uncomfortable viewing, but it's just bad acting. It's terrible acting. You don't believe these people are in power. You don't believe her as a victim. She's enjoying the the meals, she's enjoying the nightclubs, and she's enjoying the places where she lives. She doesn't play like a victim. She's given numerous chances to run away, but she doesn't. Even when she contacts her parents, she doesn't tell them she's been kidnapped. She's allowed a phone call and she tells them that she's a manager of a hotel and she won't be back for a year. It's just a nonsense storyline. And this isn't romance. But one thing these two do have is stamina. They have sex everywhere, on a boat, in the kitchen, in the flat, in a nightclub, in the shower. There's nothing these two won't do. Make a cup of tea, it involves them having sex. They have got stamina. And also, in no way, shape or form can you look back at this, no matter who you are, and go, well, it's a romantic story, it's lovely to be taken away to these nice places. She's kidnapped. She's having sex against her will. It's never consensual. So how can that be romantic? It's a nonsense, outdated story. And for those people who are enjoying it, there are lots of breasts. You don't see full frontals of her or him. You see semi-dong, which is quite teasing, especially when she's orally pleasuring him and when the flight attendant is. It's about a centimetre of dong. Whether it's stunt dong, I really don't know. I'm not that interested. But you do see it there. So I'm surprised that Netflix are actually showing something which is kind of soft porn in a way. But if I want to get porn, I'll go on the internet and you can find it on there. I won't watch something just as shit as this. What makes it worse is to try and put a climactic ending on the film where she's pregnant. She goes into a tunnel. He's on the phone to her and suddenly she's cut off. The next thing you see is police cars outside the tunnel and she's dead. She's been killed by a rival gang. All because part of their love games was that she was flirting with the opposition of another mafia gang in a nightclub. He didn't like it, took offence, drew a gun, and that's led to feud, and that's led to her death. I think if this film was done maybe 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when we hadn't moved on, and women are more empowered. But for me, as we've moved on, women aren't objects of just being taken away and shag rotten. And it's empowering to men in a dangerous way that this film just shouldn't be seen. Call me old-fashioned or say I've got no taste, but this film just can't be taken seriously these days. There's so much more on offer that you can watch. And you can take this, and it should be taken with a pinch of salt, but those with no brain cells could be taken that women do like it. Women do like post-permission, and that's what the problem is that I've got with this film. So, all in all, this film, I wouldn't recommend it. A, for the acting, for the script, and just the message it sends out to everyone. So it's on Netflix at the moment, and watch it at your peril. But if you do watch it, just let me know if you think I'm wrong, if I really missed the mark and this film is a masterpiece that I've completely misunderstood. But just let me know. But that was a really short review of 365 Days. April, thank you so much for bringing this into my life. I think it was an hour and a half long, and you owe me an hour and a half. But I'm Stuart, this is the Filmreelcast, and I'll be back very soon.